Welcome to today's Catholic Daily Readings from Christus Dominus Bread of Life. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers, owe no debt to anyone except so that you may love one another. For whoever loves his neighbor has fulfilled the law. For example, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet. And if there is any other commandment, it is summed up in this word: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The love of neighbor does no harm. Therefore, love is the fullness of the law.
Blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need. Through his hands the mercy of God moves. Blessed the man who fears the Lord, who delights in every command. His children rise upon the earth, his legacy stands in light. He dawns through darkness, a flame for the upright. Gracious, merciful, and just. Blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need. His light will never fade, his heart will never yield. Justice is his fortress, mercy is his crown. Well, for the one who lends in love, whose dealings shine with truth, he gives not seeking return, his treasure lives above. He gives to the poor with open hand, his generosity endures forever. The righteous horn is lifted high, glory crowned in grace. Oh Lord, teach us this holy way, to spend our lives as His, to love with open palms, to shine where darkness drifts. Blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need. Light through the shadows, love through the fire, his heart reflects your mercy, his soul will not tire. Blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need. Blessed the man who is gracious and lends to those in need.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Now great crowds traveled with him, and turning around he said to them, If anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters and yes, even his own life, he is not able to be my disciple. And whoever does not bear his cross and come after me is not able to be my disciple. For who among you, wanting to build a tower, would not first sit down and determine the costs that are required to see if he has the means to complete it? Otherwise, after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it may begin to mock him, saying, "This man began to build it, and he was not able to finish it." Or what king, setting out to engage in war against another king, would not first sit down and consider whether he may be able, with 10,000, to meet the one who comes against him with 20,000? If not, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation asking for terms of peace. So then, any one of you who does not renounce all that he possesses is not able to be my disciple. Join us for today's reflection. Great crowds were traveling with Jesus. He turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." Notice what Jesus does here. He has a crowd. Crowds are good for ministry metrics, big numbers, momentum, influence. Most leaders would capitalize on this moment, give an inspiring message, build enthusiasm, close with an altar call. Jesus does the opposite. He turns around and tells them following him means hating their families. This is strategic crowd reduction. Not because Jesus doesn't want people saved, he does, because he knows the difference between a crowd and disciples. Crowds follow when it's exciting. Disciples follow when it costs everything. In a few months, soldiers will arrest him. The crowd will scatter. Peter will deny him 3 times. Jesus would rather have 12 who counted the cost than thousands who didn't. The tower example cuts deep. You start building without calculating whether you have enough to finish. Foundation goes up. You're excited. Everyone sees your commitment. Then money runs out. Construction stops. Now you've got a monument to your half-hearted commitment sitting there for everyone to see. Every person walking by knows this guy started something he couldn't finish. That's what happens when Christians commit without counting the cost. Enthusiastic start. Strong initial commitment. Then the actual cost shows up. Marriage gets hard. You didn't count that cost. Kids rebel. You weren't ready for that price. Career demands compromise. You didn't calculate whether you could afford integrity. The foundation is there. Everyone can see you started, but the building never gets finished because you committed before counting. Here's the crucial part. When you sit down and honestly count what discipleship costs, you'll discover you don't have enough. Nobody does. Hate your family in comparison to loving Jesus. Renounce all possessions. Carry your cross to death. You can't afford that. The calculation reveals you're the king with 10,000 facing 20,000. You're going to lose, but that's exactly the point. Jesus isn't saying give up. He's saying recognize you can't do this on your own. The tower builder who counts the cost accurately either doesn't build or finds more resources. The king who assesses his forces either surrenders or gets reinforcements. When you count discipleship's cost, you discover you need resources beyond yourself. That's called grace. Paul says love fulfills the law, not because you can generate enough love on your own, because God's love in you does what law-keeping couldn't. Don't commit adultery is a rule you follow through willpower. Love your neighbor as yourself requires God's love flowing through you. The law sets minimum standards you might achieve. Love has no ceiling and requires supernatural help. The reason Christians are ineffective today is because we've got millions of unfinished towers. People who got excited at a youth conference but never counted the cost or asked for grace to pay it. People who got baptized but didn't calculate what it costs to actually love enemies and didn't access the grace that makes it possible. People who started building on their own strength and stopped when their resources ran out. Jesus wants you to count the cost before you commit, not to discourage you, to show you that you need him to finish what you start. Sit down, do the math. Following me means your family will think you're crazy, your friends will abandon you, your career might suffer. You'll have to forgive people who don't deserve it. You'll have to love people who hate you. You'll have to give away what you'd rather keep. Can you afford that? No, you can't. Your love isn't strong enough. Your faith isn't big enough. Your commitment won't last. That's why you need grace. That's why you need the Holy Spirit. That's why you need the sacraments. That's why you need the church. You count the cost, discover you're bankrupt, and then you ask God for the resources to finish what you're starting. The tower gets finished not because you had enough on your own, but because you counted the cost honestly and accessed divine resources. The battle gets won not because your 10,000 was sufficient, but because you recognized you needed help and God provided it. The Psalm's promise is for those who counted the cost, recognized their insufficiency, relied on God's grace, and finished what they started. Half-hearted Christianity is worse than no Christianity. An unfinished tower is worse than an empty lot. A defeated army is worse than a negotiated peace, but a tower finished through grace glorifies God more than anything you could build on your own. A battle won through divine help testifies to God's power more than a victory you could claim for yourself. The choice is this: count the cost honestly, recognize you can't afford it, then either walk away or throw yourself on God's grace and let Him provide what you lack. Jesus wants disciples who know they need Him, not crowds who think they can do this themselves. Because the one who lavishly gives to the poor and is never moved, that's not someone who had great natural resources. That's someone who counted the cost, discovered they had nothing, asked God for everything, and received grace sufficient to finish what they started. Count the cost, discover you're bankrupt, then ask for grace. That's how the tower gets built.